Hey everyone, SB4 here. Welcome back. This is the first episode of the RePHIL Studio, a Bang Dream podcast series featuring a lot of special guests and talking about many topics regarding the Bang Dream franchise when it comes to the game, perhaps the series itself. And I hope that this will continue to be a sort of podcast series that I will be able to share with people that people can listen to while they're tearing, or just as a great way to learn a bit more information about what the Bang Dream community is like. So today, for our first episode, so you get a very special honor and privilege. We have Skitter here. Skitter, welcome to the RePHIL Studio, and thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, it's nice to be here.
Yeah,
Glad I
yeah,
could.
good.
I'm honored to be the first guest.
For sure, for sure. So tell me a little bit more. Obviously, a bit more about yourself to introduce yourself. Before we get started here.
Yeah, well, I'm Skitter. I've been playing Bang Dream since it came out in
Mm-hmm.
English. Um, big Pastel Palettes fan, and Aya fan specifically.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
And
I've
what
tiered a couple of
what are
times.
some of your tiering achievements?
Tiering achievements. Well, my first top 10 was in my ideal, where I ended up
Mm-hmm.
getting fifth,
Mm-hmm.
and by far my most impressive and my personal favorite was during Devotedly Towards My Dreams, where I got third, which was rough due to the huge competition of that event.
For sure, for sure. We'll definitely be talking quite a bit about some of these events, but as you all could hear, that Skitter is definitely a very big Pasta Palettes fan and has been tearing for the game for quite some time. So we'll definitely get to hear a little bit more about that later. First of all, I do want to just kind of, I guess, talk a little bit more about getting into Bang Dream. Obviously, you got into the series when you first started. What really got in? What really helped you get into the series? So what was the sort of the catalyst that started all of it?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So I was a Love Live fan,
Mm.
and I think Umida, who is a Love Live content creator,
Mm-hmm.
was made some videos about Bang Dream when it was coming up to the English release,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided to try it out when it first came, and I just really enjoyed it. Got hooked basically straight away, and yeah, I've just been playing it ever since.
Mm. I see. I see. So like, it's funny because in my personal experience, like I kind of got into Bang Dream in a relatively similar way. I knew about Love Live, and some of my friends knew about Love Live, but it was more like a little bit more of a meme. I don't know if it's more like maybe like some of your friend groups were serious about Love Live. For us, it was more like a meme. That someone would like Love Live, and we kind of didn't really have too big of a like the most like positive sort of reputation of Love Live. Funny enough that you mentioned
Yeah, yeah.
Umida, because Umida actually is a Vancouverite, just like me. I actually met him in person one
Oh, really?
day.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I'm not really in my friend groups isn't really anime fans.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
I mean, personally myself, I'm not really that big of an anime fan. I've watched a couple of anime, but
Hmm.
um, I wouldn't consider myself an anime fan or anything like that. But yeah, it was Love Live was definitely more of a main thing, and it was
Ah.
definitely something that I at the time I didn't really make public because maybe I was a little embarrassed about it or whatever.
Hmm.
But now I just don't care. I'm like, whatever. If you think this is cringe, whatever. I don't care.
Yep, yep, yep. I mean, again, like it's very interesting how like perceptions change and such about various franchises. But either way, I still have a lot of respect. And obviously things change, and I definitely have a lot more respect. Oh, I just realized my settings um, changed a little bit. Hold on. Uh-oh. There we go. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it's definitely very interesting. It's very unique that you got into it, and again, it's funny that we kind of have like a similar connection too, right? We both kind of knew about Bang Dream through one guy. That Umida guy, he actually did a panel in an anime con in Vancouver, and he was trying to introduce Bang Dream to people as well. I was there already, kind of a fan, and trying to get people to join. I think most people in general though only joined. Because they were already fans, but maybe he was able to get a few people into it, so it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, he definitely got me at least. So that's at least one.
Yeah,
at least one that is completely because of him.
Shout outs to Umida then. Shout outs to you. You definitely, although you don't really play too much anymore, I do think that you've done quite a service for many people to introduce people into the community. So many thanks to Umida for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. So you know you're a big Pasta Palace fan, right? You're a big Pasta Palace fan. What made you really sort of passionate into Pasta Palace? What made you really like Pasta Palace, and very specifically Maruyama Aya, the singer?
Oh god, I knew this would be a question. And honestly, the answer is I don't know. I kind of just when I was watching their band story,
Uh-huh.
it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But oh no, it wasn't even the band story. I don't know. Like I said, it was a long time ago. It was probably something to do with the band story, and I don't know. I just something about it called out to me. But specifically, why I started liking Aya.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what the event was called, but it was the that one that gave the 4-star powerful Aya.
Oh yes.
Where with Ayumi, was it?
Aya's
idol. Yeah. That was the event where I started when I became my favorite character. That was the event, and oh god, that card that card avoided me for so long. I ended up having to miracle ticket it. I pulled so much for that card, and I just never got it until like the first miracle ticket.
The desire sensor is real. Desire sensor is actually real.
Yeah, absolutely. The game just knows.
It's interesting that you mentioned that you didn't really really know exactly how or when you got into it to Pass the Palace. I kind of was a similar boat personally. Like PasuPare was never a band that I really liked at the beginning. Like obviously First Impression, Roselia, Afterglow were like really big like first impressions for me.
Oh yeah, Roselia, Afterglow are always the first favorites, right? They're like the edgy ones, the cool ones. They're the ones that everyone likes first.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really interesting that later eventually Pass the Palace becomes someone that people start to slowly appreciate. I think Pass the Palace and Hell Happy World are definitely bands that you have to kind of get into the series a bit more to really appreciate. But I really do like Pass the Palace personally. Kind of similar reasons to you. They are very dedicated. They work very hard. The idol franchise is certainly not easy. And again, I memed about like Love Life before, but Pass the Palace obviously changed my perception on that too.
And Aya again, actually idol group in Bang Dream.
Yeah, pretty much. And Aya in general is someone that again I really look up to. The fact that she worked so hard. I think it was the exact same event where I saw her that she really wanted to devote herself to be an idol, to give smiles and be able to give to share happiness with other people. I really found that to be quite endearing, and that's why I really also started quite liking Aya a lot. So
yeah, the thing with me and my favorite characters in general is I don't know why I like them. I just do. So it's so hard for me to like think about why they're my favorite character. And I knew you were going to ask me that, and I was trying to think, and I'm just like, why do I like Paso Palace? Why do I like Aya? I don't know.
Well, you never know. Maybe it's just because they have pink hair.
No, stop. I swear I don't have anything pink hair. I don't know. People probably won't get that reference, but Aya was my first favorite pink hair character, but then it kind of just like snowballed. Luca, it's a
Yep.
Vocaloid. I love Luca. Um, oh God, I know there's more. Um, I can't remember them all at the time, but every time a new pink hair character that I like comes up, I try and convince myself. I swear I don't have a thing for pink hair. I swear I don't have a thing for pink hair. But every new character, it makes it harder and harder to convince myself
It's just like
because it's just
figure.
so consistent.
Oh my. They might just have similar traits, you know, pink someone with pink hair, they just happen to have very similar traits. You know, if
Oh,
they have
Callie
pink
as
hair,
well.
they're just like this particular archetype of personality, you know?
Except, I mean, Callie and Aya, I would say, are very different.
Yeah. They're both
Yeah.
entertainers though.
Yes, I guess that's like, yeah, sure, that's true.
They entertain in different ways. I don't know.
Yeah.
But was that did that like was that like, you know, once you got into past the palace, was that sort of motivation of you getting into tiering for my ideal? Was that sort of like a spark to say that, oh, I want to tier, and I want to actually you know, tier to show my appreciation for past the palace.
Um, I the first time I consciously decided to tier
Mm-hmm.
was I went for top 100 in a New Year's event. Oh, I don't remember what it was called. I'm gonna get up the event listed now. Just have a look.
During the podcast, there'll probably be some graphics that I'll just briefly edit in, and the event will probably show up, and they'll be like, "Yep, that's the event."
Yeah. And it was a New Year's event, and um, it was pure type
Mhm,
because I just happened to have a really strong pure team. Um,
mhm.
I'm almost there. Hang on. Uh, it was a mixed event. Um,
Mm.
New Year's Omikuji Madness. So that was like I had a really strong pure Postal Pellets team. So
Mhm.
I'm like, what event do I want to tier for? And this one had two Pastel Pellets characters as boost members, so
Mhm.
I just decided to go for it. That was my first conscious I want to tier high, and at the time I thought top 100 was pretty high.
Mm.
And then the way I decided to tier for my ideal was again it was a pure type, and I had I think at that time I had a full 4-star team, so I already had a really good team for that event. So that's why I decided to go for my ideal.
Was there sort of like, did you were you just like thinking, oh, I want to tier? Like, did you ever like thought about why you wanted to tier, or what got you into thinking I want top 100 for a particular event, or I want top 10 for a particular event?
Oh God, why did I think? um, I mean, I was a big Pastel Pellets fan, and I think obviously that was a big reason to go for my ideal. It was
Mhm,
like I
mhm,
I think I wanted to get one top 10 at least, and I wanted to do it for a Pastel Pellets event because obviously big fan.
mhm.
And so I just looked through the list and was like, what event is Pastel Pellets and Pure? Because I already have a good team for that. It'll make it a lot easier.
Mhm.
And that's why I settled on that. But yeah, I think I just decided to tier because I just enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the
Mhm.
franchise. I guess I just wanted to show my support.
For sure, for sure. When you tiered for my ideal, were you already kind of like tiering with like a server, or was it like mostly by yourself? How did that work?
Yeah, so I was in a server. Um,
Mhm,
I got really lucky, and the server owner came to me to try and recruit me.
mhm,
Because at that time I had my tiering goals as my pinned tweet, and then Atsui uh, came to me and was like, "Hey, I saw you going for top 10 in my ideal. Want to join my server?" And obviously, I was really happy with that because it meant I didn't have to go looking for a server. Because at that time, I wasn't in many servers. I didn't know pretty much any people. So I don't know how I would have gotten into a server if Atsui didn't approach me.
That actually raises a pretty interesting point because I actually did a little bit of it's a little bit of information seeking and also just in general, like kind of learning about what the sort of old school tiering community and what tiering was like back in the day. Just to remind me, my ideal that was like a 2019 event? Was it?
It was at the end of a year. I think it was 2019, maybe.
End of 20.
It must have been 2019.
Because it had to be because it wouldn't be 2020 because that was
it definitely wasn't
DTMD,
2020,
right? So.
it was start of 2020.
Oh, start of 2020. Okay.
Oh, that's right, because there were the big Australian fires around that time. I remember talking about that with Bells, who was also in the server.
I see. So it was interesting because I think it was interesting because I think the tiering sort of community there was actually a weird shift. I think when this upcoming year happened, I think again this was tweeted by IPN a couple weeks ago. But apparently back in the day, in order to really build a tiering community or tiering server, the person who's going for the top one has to actively search for people to see who is tiering for that event.
Oh wow!
So they would actually have to search for people and then privately message to ask them to join. That's how Pastry got me into the Dreams Reality in 100 Poems because he saw that I was going for top 100 and privately messaged me to ask to join.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. It actually only was a recent shift, only a couple months ago, which is like pretty surprising that it started moving away from this sort of personalized personal message sort of tiering server kind of joining where it actually just becomes more of a tiering portal where basically anyone could join as many servers as you want. Obviously
tiering
everything
portal makes it really convenient.
Everything has its own pros and cons, and I'm sure that when I bring another guest over, I'll definitely be talking about this because I know a lot of people who are more in the older tiering communities. I think they'll have a lot of opinions and perspectives of how tiering is different from the past to right now. So that's just something I thought was really interesting to note. So it's interesting.
That's really interesting.
Atsu was able to actually find you, reach out, and then you end up getting podium. So that was
not podium.
Not podium. Top 10. Top 10. Yeah, that's right. So how is that different from the next event that you did, Devotedly Towards My Dream? How does that differ to that when it comes to getting podium from Sprite? How did that happen?
Oh well, getting into Sprite's server initially, again I still wasn't deeply into the community, so I just messaged Atsui like, "Hey, do you know anyone who's tiering for this event?" And they said to me, Sprite and Evergreen. So I messaged Sprite asking if I could get a podium spot, and they said podium was all full, but they could let me into the T10 roster. And so I was fine with that, and I just said, if someone drops from podium, can I have it? And fortunately for me, not long before the event, someone dropped, and then I got that podium spot. And then I had to deal with the actual event. So getting into the podium spot was hard enough. And then I had to actually do the event.
So were you mentally prepared to do a podium when it was literally a few days before the event started?
No. I mean, yes, not to the extent that I had to do it though.
Yeah.
I wasn't mentally prepared for what I had to do. But I'd already taken time off work because I knew it was a competitive event. So even for top 10, I just wanted to basically do my best. I wanted to get fourth, or at least top of people who are not aiming for podium. because that was planned to be my last event before I retired.
Mm-hmm.
And then title idol was revealed, but whatever. But yeah, so I wanted to do the best I could. So I was already planning on going as hard as I could to be first not going for podium, whether that was fourth or fifth. I wanted to be the top of the T10. So exactly. I was already kind of prepared.
Now, of course, then the EN server threw you a curveball, right? They said, "Oh, it's going to be an 11-day event."
11 days. That was fun.
So, tell me how, if you remember. I don't know if you remember anymore. It might be a huge blur now. But tell me a little bit more about those first 24, 48 hours. Do you remember much of it?
I remember that I was playing A to Z a lot. So for the first 24 hours, I wanted to do a 24-hour grind.
Yeah.
And I was planning on doing that even before I had the podium spot. I wanted to do a 24-hour grind. I wanted to do that at least once. Unfortunately, I kind of just crashed around 21 hours or something. I just couldn't play. I had to go to sleep. But hopefully I can do that again in Title Idol. Because I still really want to do a 24-hour grind.
Yeah.
Just to basically prove to myself that I can do it. Yeah, so it was basically, I think I did 21 hours roughly for the first day, and then about 20 hours the next day. And I just kind of kept that consistent pace the whole way through.
Was it difficult to keep that consistency? I know,
Absolutely.
Again, during the event, of course, we had to have your roommate Saber to help us out to wake you
yes.
up. But like, I really, obviously I was with you in the event as well. I really admired the consistency. You were very consistent in terms of, okay, it had to be 21, like roughly 21, 22 hours, and then 4 hours sleep, and then just rinse and repeat. So, doing that for 11 days.
It's painful. It's painful. It's kind of easy at the start. I say easy. It's not easy. 4 hours sleep is not enough, but it's doable early. It's doable early on. Like after the first 4 hours sleep, like I'm a bit tired, but I can go. It's fine. I can do it. But towards the end of the event, when I was still doing that 20 hours play, 4 hours sleep, it was painful. I'd wake up and I'd be like, why am I doing this? Is this really worth it? I just want to sleep. Let me rest. Why is this 11 days long? So it gets harder and harder the longer the event is, because obviously, like, the lack of sleep, it just builds up.
For sure.
And I mean, that's where the Skitter emote comes from.
Because you were dying on easy difficulty.
I was dying on easy. Yeah, it was rough, but I got through it, and I learned a lot about myself and how much sleep I need, basically.
Well, that's good. To give a bit of context to our listeners here who may not be as familiar with the event, I actually just thinking about it, we should give a bit more context about the event. Devoted Towards My Dream was an event in November of 2020. It was a full Pass the Pallets event. There were two competing servers, Sprite and Skitter, as our guest here, were competing for podium in one server, and then we also had Evergreen going for top one, and then Emmy going for podium. So basically, podium, it was a competition between 4 people, and of course, it's 4 choose 3 essentially. And it was intense. I remember watching that event and seeing how everything just kept tipping left and right. For the most part, to be honest, Skitter, if you remember, it was really rough for the Sprite server. I thought Evergreen had everything in the bag. Like for at least like the first 7 days, Evergreen had a huge lead.
They were so strong. They Evergreen and M were so strong. They could go for longer grinds than me and Sprite could. But ultimately, I think that was their downfall, because they were more sleep deprived than us, and basically couldn't keep up the same pace towards the end. So even though they had a significant lead early on, and for most of the event, they just couldn't keep up that pace. So me and Sprite ended up just catching up.
Also, I think definitely like because Evergreen was going for top one, but then trying possibly getting outscored by Emmy, that was obviously a bit problematic. And yeah, in general, it was very fascinating to see how quickly things change because it was a longer event and it really tested a lot of people's mental fortitude and stamina. I know Evergreen did a really good job in that part, but something really changed at the end. Last 24 hours, something really did change there. Like obviously,
Yeah,
you said it was very tough, and I know in many during many times of the event, you were pretty much ready to give up.
there
What kind
were
of
two main times where I was really when I was about to quit, when I was like seriously considering dropping.
what
There was
ended
that.
up what was the driving force to tell you, you know what, let's not quit, let's keep see this through? What really motivated you to say, hey, let's actually see this through the end?
The fact that it was supposed to be my retiring event. It
Mm-hmm.
was in my mind. It's like even if I get fourth, I want to do the absolute best I can
Mm-hmm.
because this is my last event. I don't want to be disappointed in myself and how I
Mm-hmm.
did. So, and that was basically why I didn't stop. I said there were two main parts when I was going to give up. That first one, which was about I don't know 4 days in or so, 4 or 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was very heavily considering quitting because I was just exhausted. But um, I just thought like I'm going to be so disappointed in myself if I drop now
Uh-huh.
and just give up after all I've done for this first half of the event. I'm going to be so disappointed in myself, and I just wasn't willing to let that happen.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be disappointed in myself. I wanted to be satisfied with my last event and my performance, regardless of how I ended up placing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It really showed, like, the obviously I honestly thought, being a competitive event, it was very exciting, very intense. Obviously we were sort of on the losing side for a most part, but it
Yeah,
was still felt very enjoyable, right? We were all behind, and um there was a lot of times where it was like, wow, we are quite behind. They had better rooms, they were more efficient, but something just kept clicking, and it's like, you know what, we got to keep going, we got to keep playing. I know, Sprite was throwing up everywhere and
oh, I
everything,
felt
and
so bad for
yeah,
Sprite.
it's so bad, but something clicked, and just in the last 48 hours, and especially the last 24 hours, I remember, it was like literally the last 24 hours before the event ended. I was up with you. It was afternoon for you, but it was like almost midnight for me. I was just seeing you
Mm.
suddenly realizing, wow, you
Yeah,
can actually pass Evergreen.
that was the second time I was about to. It was like coming up on the last day, and I was so far behind. I was so far behind the podium. I was in fourth place, and I was heavily considering quitting. I don't think I've ever made this public, but I asked in the T10 chat, uh, "Do you think I realistically have a chance at this? Do you think I can actually get top three? Because honestly, I'm not sure if I can." And um, basically, everyone was saying, "Yeah, you probably can't get it. It's too far behind. You're too far behind. There's not that much time left." So I was planning on parking just above 70 mil.
Mm-hmm.
But then Evergreen stopped playing for a bit, and then I caught up, and he still hadn't started playing again. And then I got a lead, and then I had a pretty significant lead on Evergreen. And basically, that was the point where I was like, "Wow, this is the exact miracle I needed to be able to get podium. This is exactly what needed to happen." So as that happened, as I got that significant lead on him, I just my mindset changed. I'm like, okay. At that point, I basically resigned myself to fourth. I'm like, okay, I'm getting fourth, whatever. I did my best. But then that happened,
Mm-hmm.
and something just clicked. And I'm like, I'm not getting fourth anymore. I'm getting third or third up, whatever. I'm getting podium. So I just kept going,
Yeah, you're just
and
like, you had that lead, and you're
yeah,
like, you know what, I'm not letting this opportunity go to waste. We got to keep going. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
That was
And
just
we
definitely
were
like
all
a really
exhausted.
interesting spark that happened.
All four of us were absolutely exhausted. I remember um, the last day. Some context for me: events end around 5-6 p.m. my time. So, like in that last day, everyone was exhausted, and at around 8 or 9 a.m., um, was Evergreen and M wanted to talk with me and Sprite about settling positions just so we can stop because everyone was exhausted. I think it was obvious to everyone, everyone like in that top four was could see that the other server was just exhausted. So then, luckily, we didn't have to play until event end, which I know me and Sprite were really worried about that. When we're just going to have to play, we're not going to get to park. It's just going to be play until the event ends, and then see what happens. But fortunately, we could stop a few hours early, which was very good.
And again, I honestly thought it was like what an interesting timeline or storyline with that event, right? Well, a lot of tiering events generally don't have a lot of storylines because it's just like the one person going for top one, and maybe a sniper comes in and tries to steal top 10 from one of the roster spots. But like this competitive event really had like so many storylines. There were a lot of memes that came out of it too.
I love all of the memes. I think every meme about that event that I saw, I saved. I retweeted them and I saved them. And it's like, I love these.
It was great. It was honestly
they're just so good.
Amazing. I still think it was one of my favorite tiering experiences.
Me too, looking back. At
Obviously,
the time,
it was pretty,
I hated it.
Yeah, pretty bad.
I think that's fair. At the time, I absolutely hated it. I was exhausted. I hadn't had enough sleep. 4 hours of sleep a day for like 11 days. It's so rough. Anyone who's done anything like that will know what I'm talking about. Like how rough it is. You're just exhausted, and I think the one biggest example of how exhausted I was I once actually full comboed a song because I thought I got AP and I didn't want to break the combo because I wanted the nice rainbow star.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the results. 70 greats. That's very far from AP. But I legitimately thought I got it.
Oh my god.
And I think that can just show you what like the level of exhaustion. It's like I didn't realize that I got 70 grace. I thought I got 0. How does that happen?
What were you able to do to try to overcome that exhaustion, or what happened after the event, and how to kind of catch up on sleep?
Catching up on sleep. Well, that's a story I love telling. In the 48 hours that follow, I slept over 30 hours, and that's not an exaggeration. After the event ended, so after we parked, which was about 2 p.m. my time, so a few hours before the event ended, I went to sleep for 8 hours. Middle of the day, I slept for 8 hours. Then I woke up, then I had dinner, and then I went back to sleep for 8 hours again. And that's the main part of the massive sleep that I had. I just 8 hours, wake up, eat, 8 hours again.
Oh man.
And to stay awake during the event, for the first half, I was having a lot of energy drinks, but like Sprite, I realized that they were making me sick, and I didn't like it, so I just settled with coffee, which wasn't as effective, but it got me through.
Yeah. Well, there's some tips for those who are going for competitive top 10. It's not easy. It's not easy, especially if
stock
you're
up on
going
energy drinks and snacks before the event starts.
Yeah, right before too, and especially if you're getting fighting against people who are pretty experienced in tiering. Obviously, Sprite and you, in comparison to Emmy and Evergreen, I definitely think you were the underdogs from the start.
Yeah, specifically me. I think at that time Sprite had some other. I feel like Sprite had another podium at that point. I'm pretty sure they did. I only had one T10, so I was like fairly unknown, I'd say. Sprite was definitely like more notable than me, I think.
For sure.
Uh, but yeah, like I mean, Evergreen. I'd heard of Evergreen for so long before that event. Um, he's been a big name for a while. I didn't know who M was until the event. And then obviously when you see your competition, you start researching what they've done. And I saw she had, was it podium or was it just top 10 in the summer pastel palettes? I don't remember.
Podium. I think it was podium.
I knew it was, I'm pretty sure that was her first top 10 event. Yeah, so it's like, I guess she was in a similar tier to Sprite. And then I'm like lower than everyone else in terms of previous tiering experience.
Yeah, again, underdog story, and it was one of those really interesting storylines that ended up coming through. The underdogs winning again. I think it was an event that was very exciting, very entertaining, regardless of the result. Obviously, the other server, especially Evergreen and M, they didn't get exactly the result they want, especially Evergreen. But again, I think pat on the back for both of them for doing what they can, and everyone worked very hard, and everyone at the end of the day, we all knew that as much as it's a competition, we all knew at the end of the day we all loved pasta palettes, and this was where sort of our way to show that devotion. So regardless of the result, right? I think a lot of people overall felt very, very happy about and satisfied about what happened, and it was a really entertaining 11 days for sure.
Yeah, and obviously with 4 people going for top 3, someone's going to miss out. Someone's going to be disappointed.
Yeah, so someone has to be disappointed, but
it has to be someone, whether they drop halfway through or they just can't keep up or whatever happens. Someone has to miss out because there's no ties in Bang Dream.
Yeah, there are no ties. You could park in the same spot and one person gets top 3 and one person gets top 10, but I don't know how many people would actually do that trust game. It's like the strongest trust game.
As third to trust fourth to not snipe you.
Yeah, and park in the exact same spot. That's like the ultimate trust game.
Yeah, I mean, like I did a similar thing with M because we were really close. We parked really close to each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, she just trusted me to not overtake her. And obviously, if I overtake her, then I'm suddenly going to be hated in the tiering community. No one's going to trust me. Exactly. I went back on my word. I agreed to take third and let M get second. And then after she parked, I overtake her. Obviously, everyone's going to hate me. No one's going to want me in their tiering server.
Yeah.
It's just a crappy thing to do.
Also, you probably were too tired to play anymore anyway.
Oh yeah, I was so tired. I just wanted to sleep, but more than that, I wanted to park. I wanted to park and get that nice Aya birthday on the end of my score.
That's fair. I'm trying to find a very. I'm trying to find a sort of a natural stopping point to take a quick break. But if you want to keep going, we'll keep going.
Whenever is right for the break, you can just.
Well, we might as well just say that there'll be a quick ad like right now, probably on this YouTube video, and we'll be coming back in a few seconds. The RePHIL Studio is brought to you by the UNGA Discord server. Feel free to join us. Links are in the description below, and you'll be able to join our community who's passionate about Bang Dream and tiering in the game, and you'll also get the chance to meet with some of our special guests featured in this podcast series. It's a great time, fun place to host events, and we hope to see you there. The RePHIL Studio will be back very shortly. So we're back here, Skitter again as our special guest here.
Hello.
For this podcast series. We were just talking about his adventures on how he got third place in the Pasta Palettes event devotedly towards my dreams. And it was a very exciting event, full of competition because there were people competing against each other for that top 3. So kind of going back into that topic of competition, because I thought that was really really interesting. What's competition to you? Is that something that you enjoy? Are you a very like competitive person?
Well, I didn't think so for a long time,
Hmm.
but then I started playing Smash competitively in probably early 2015,
Hmm.
and that's when I started to enjoy competition. I think
Hmm.
because I'd go to a lot of tournaments. I'm not the greatest. I'm like pretty average in my region,
Hmm.
um, but I don't know. It was just fun, and that's where I got my enjoyment for competition. And I think that obviously translated over into Bang Dream because competition is competition. And it's like the same kind of mindset um, travels over between the
Hmm.
two.
Hmm. Do you think that like competing in Smash is very similar, or what in some way similar to competing in Bang Dream? Obviously, there's a lot of different aspects. Like obviously, Smash is a game where it's a lot of reflexes, knowing characters and stuff. And Bang Dream is just tappity tap. Who could tap faster, essentially.
Tappy tappy tap
But
tap for longest time. Who
earlier
wins?
earlier in the podcast, you mentioned how you were looking up in your opponents, see who they are and see what they've accomplished. That's definitely a Smash thing too. Like when you
Yeah,
look
I
at
do
your
that sometimes
opponents.
at Smash Majors. Yeah,
So that kind of like carried over, eh?
I I kind of thought that was kind of a natural thing to do. Like you
Yeah.
want to see what your opponents have done to
Fair.
see what the kind of competition you're up against.
Hmm.
But I don't know. Maybe that is just transferring over from Smash.
Again, were there any similarities to your drive to compete in Smash versus drive to compete in this particular event? Or I guess again, sticking with DTMT here.
I think they're pretty different because like Bang Dream's all about stamina and just keep going, whereas Smash is not really, unless you're like some of the best and you have to be playing all day because you make it to like grands or whatever.
Hmm. For sure, for
But like
sure.
at my level in Smash, it's like stamina is not really a problem that ever comes up.
Hmm.
Um, I think maybe the competitive drive is similar, but I'd say they're both pretty different in terms of like how competition goes and stuff.
Mm, okay. Okay. Well, this actually poses a really um, interesting question because in some tier events, there's actually an event. I think it was in the end of 2020. I think it was the um, it was one event, and there was some discussion. There was some discussion in the server after the event ended about whether or not it was fair or just to have. Okay, well now I remember why. It was an event where we had a roster and we had some really like sort of fresh people like trying to get the first top 10 ever. And at the end of the day, they got sniped by two veteran players. Right, they got sniped by two veteran players because it was
Right.
challenge live, and challenge lives are
Oh
the
god,
biggest
challenge
mistakes when it
lives.
comes to sniping. Right, so and
Oh, that
someone
was
who's
my
veteran
first
will,
top 10.
yeah, sniping challenge lives as a veteran top 10 player is like really really easy to do
Oh, it's
if the
so
other,
easy if there's new people.
yeah,
I,
it's like
I,
newer
I mean,
people.
I haven't done it, but I could imagine that like the new people, they don't save their the CP,
Yeah,
and
exactly,
and then like
exactly.
if you're sticking like 11th, 12th without having used any of your CP, that's easy top 10.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So like during that event, after the event, there were some discussions about it as to whether or not it was fair for a veteran top 10 player who already has many top 10s or even podium titles to continue to get more top 10s and sort of take away that experience for someone who is new and wanted to get their first top 10 for the first time. I have my own thoughts about it, and it's actually kind of related to what we were talking about. But before I say my thoughts, what do you think about that idea?
I think no one is owed any title. You need to work for it,
Mm-hmm.
and if you don't get it, that's on you. Um, I I said it like a bit rougher than I mean it, but it's basically like if you're going for top 10 and you get sniped by someone, it's you can't get mad at them for sniping you because you're not owed that top 10 spot. You basically just didn't play as well as the other people, and I get that like they were more experienced, they have their top 10s, but there's no limit to the amount of top 10s or podiums or firsts that you're owed. Well, I mean, not that you're owed, that you can get. There's like you can get as many as you want as long as you earn them. You're not owed anything. That's my view on it. So if someone gets sniped, it's basically I think like should have worked harder.
Yeah, should have played more, right?
The reason why it's rough, but I think it's just how it is. Yeah, only 10 people can get top 10, right?
It really is. It really is. The reason why I brought about this competition thing, because, I think a lot of people, when they think about the Bang Dream, the tiering and how that works, it is very collaborative, right? A lot of the times you are working with the same group of people who all want to go for top scores together. But at the end of the day, right, just like in other competitive events or competitive games, it is a competition. I do think that if you want to get a particular title, you also have to earn it and actually show that you're able to do it. I give this. I sometimes think of this as an example. Like, for instance, I don't know what kind of sports you watch in Australia, but
personally, I don't watch sports.
Okay, but let's say, like, there's a basketball team, for instance. Maybe those who are familiar with basketball, like, there's this one team that just kept, like, these same two teams were going to the top 2 finals every single year for the past, like, 5 years. Like, they're not going to stop. Like, suddenly say one day, it was like, we're going to lose one day just to give some guy another chance to win, right? Like, they're not going to do that. And I think for the veteran top 10 people, that's the same idea, right? We're not going to just sit here and idly let other people take it if they still want it, right? It is a competition at the end of the day.
Of course. No one should step down just to give someone else a shot, unless they actually want to, unless they don't want to go for that top 10. But if they want that top 10, they want that title. Or like in sports, they want to be like the number 1 team or whatever. Why should they slow down? Why should they play worse to let someone else get it?
Exactly. And again, going back to Smash, same thing, right? Someone who's first place in your region is not going to suddenly say, hey, Mr. Jim over there, in pools, I think he has a pretty, I think I'll let him, win this match and see if he could, take the tournament.
I've been winning every single tournament. I think I'm just going to drown in pools today.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, it's obviously, again, it's the way we're saying this, especially for newer tiers, it is a lot more harsh than, a lot harsher. We sound more harsh than what we really mean, but the reality,
that's why I said that.
The reality is that, especially if you are a new tier, experience is so important. Experience is just so important. You have to experience tiering for yourself. Either tier for, slowly building up, getting top 1,000, and then slowly getting top 100, and then maybe one day you'll get that top 10. Maybe one day you'll get that podium. It's not something that you could just suddenly do overnight, or expect that it just kind of gets given to you. You definitely have to earn it, and for a lot of these, people who especially are veteran tiers, they spent a lot of time in this game and have built that experience to make sure that they are successful. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if it's your first time tiering, don't tier challenge life, please. It's so rough. I was so lucky that in my ideal, which was challenge life, I was so lucky that I had a group of very experienced tierers with me. So even though that was my first top 10, I basically had all that experience behind me because they were helping me. They were saying, don't use your CP. It's okay. It's completely fine to be sitting at 11th, 12th without using much CP, because that's not really where you're sitting, right? You've still got all that CP saved up and you just get that huge boost of points later on. And I think without that massive amount of experience helping me, I don't think I would have got top 10.
Exactly.
So, like, don't tier challenge life as your first event unless you have some really experienced people behind you, or you've been really closely watching as a challenge live go on. from the top at like top 10 level.
Yeah, definitely. Newer tiers. It is obviously it is going to be a bit of a challenge, and you may not be successful on your first event, but definitely don't give up. The boat is a difficult experience to sort of swallow and fathom, but experience only really makes you stronger. So yeah, I think that's sort of the main takeaway when I think about competition and when I think about people trying to get top 10 titles, right? It is at the end of the day, you're not owed or you're not sort of given that spot. You really have to earn it, and it's a lot of work, but as you can see with some of these events like the Vote Lead Towards My Dreams, it's very worth it. So
yeah.
What
Tiering is rough, especially for your first time, regardless of what event you're doing. There's always the chance that you don't completely understand what needs to be done, and you just fail. And it's just rough because not only is it a lot of time put in, it's also a lot of money.
It is.
Because tiering is not cheap.
It really isn't. It is not cheap at all. Especially if you don't make preparations well in advance. I know a lot of people, they also possibly make the mistake that trying to get top 10 in an event is going to be a very cheap process. It really isn't. Some people might think that having
dead like, event, could be fairly cheap.
Some events can, yeah.
Don't count on it. Basically, be prepared to spend more.
Funny enough, we all talked about the cursed challenge lives, but challenge lives are technically the cheapest out of the four to tier 4.
They're pretty cheap. They're cheap.
It's a bait. It's a trap.
Most of your points come from the CP that you saved up, which is obviously not stars, not coming from like your flames.
I forgot to ask, but how many stars did you have going into DTMD?
I think it was about 60,000.
60,000.
But I used way more than that.
Way more. And
I had to buy
a selective
more
amount of cans, right?
Yeah, but like compared to my stars, it was barely anything, honestly.
Okay.
I know at one point. Oh no, I think I remember counting. I had roughly 70,000 stars transferring my cans into their equivalent of stars. I think I had about 70,000 stars along, like with stars and cans.
And it was still not enough at all.
Oh, nowhere near enough. Nowhere near enough. I think
it was a competitive event.
Basically double that or something.
Oh boy.
It was expensive.
So again, if you are a newer tier and you want to go for like a top 10 event, right? And you're sitting there with, I don't know, 10,000 stars. Unfortunately, it's not going to be an easy journey. Your wallet's going to cry a little bit, just a little bit.
If you've got 10,000 stars, I hope you've got a lot of cans.
Or a lot of cans. Yeah, if you have only 10,000 stars and a lot of cans, right? So again, we're not trying to sound mean or anything, but
it's just the facts, right?
It's just the facts that it's not going to be an easy journey, and it's not going to be something that you could just easily grab and just be like, yeah, I'm just going to easily get top 10. No, there's a lot more to it. So speaking of money, I think Skitter, you mentioned after DTMD, you basically completely changed from being a someone who pays for a game really often, someone who consistently puts a bit of money to get stars to maybe try and, sort of gacha for certain characters. And then I think you basically went full free to play after, right?
That was the plan. And it worked pretty well for about 3 weeks. And then Title Idol was announced. And then I unretired 3 weeks after retiring. So, yeah, I haven't stopped spending yet. But Title Idol is absolutely going to be my last event. It's going to be my retiring event. I'm going to go mostly free to play after that. I'll probably buy the monthly pack or whatever it's called. I buy it every month and I don't even know what it's called. I'll probably keep buying that, but that's all. No extra stars or anything. Maybe like Aya's birthday pack every year or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm definitely going to cut down hugely. with how much I spend.
So obviously, I like, but am I right to assume that compared to before in previous years, you're spending less in the game than before, or am I wrong in that?
I think I'm spending basically the same because I don't buy the star packs
Okay.
unless I need them while tiering. Like I've run out of stars.
Mm.
I'll buy all the discounted stuff. So like the birthday stuff. When they have the collaboration, the 50% extra stars or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I buy them because anything that's more efficient than Star Pack G, I will buy because it's just more efficient cost wise.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I need more during the event, I'll buy the G pack.
the elusive G.
G.
So G is the basically the biggest star package of that you could buy.
Biggest and most efficient as well. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, it is the most efficient. But you said it was like 139 or something Aussie dollars.
Oh, I think so.
Okay.
Something like that.
And it's like one.
How do you remember that? I don't even remember that.
409 USD. I don't know. Or was it like 169? I don't remember. But it's really expensive.
I think 139 is right.
Okay.
I'm gonna check that up now, actually.
But yeah, it's not an easy journey to get, and you don't even get like that many stars. Like obviously,
11,000 stars. That's it.
Yeah. So it's not easy. So you really have to save a lot. Like if you are going to prepare to do an event, I think it's a good mix of trying to figure out when is like the super easy, like the time to buy the super cheap and super efficient stars, but also like saving a lot, and you really have to like resist the urge to spend like anything, like, even like for instance the current railgun event, like resist the urge to spend on that.
One thing I realized is gacha is a scam, and I don't pull on gacha anymore, and I don't pay money for gacha either.
Yeah, I unfortunately have fallen into the sort of part of the game where I don't gacha anymore. I only have stars for tiering. So I'm saving up for my upcoming top 11, maybe.
Going for 11
next
again
month. So it's interesting that you mentioned that you had 60,000 stars before podium. I think I'm gonna.
I just buy every little every deal basically. I will buy, and especially the Black Friday deals. They are the most efficient time to buy stars.
100%.
Because you get double the stars for the same price.
Black Friday, I think, is going to be roughly the same time as Title Idol too.
Just before Title Idol.
Oh my goodness!
I've looked at it and it's like so good because I get to buy them because it was just after DTMD, which sucked, right? Because I've already used all my stars. I've already bought all those extra stars, and then Black Friday comes around.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate, but it's right before Title Idol, so that'll be nice.
We're good. It's funny that we're talking about all this whaling stuff, but again, I don't want to encourage people. I don't want to encourage our listeners.
Don't spend money if you can't afford it, please.
If you can't afford it, don't do it. You can do a lot of things with free-to-play stars. I'll just let you know that it is very, very possible to do. You really have to prepare well in advance, but doing this through free-to-play is very, very doable.
And also, gacha is gambling, so just keep that in mind.
It is.
That's why I say it's a scam, because
it is a scam. It's gambling.
Just a scam.
It's so interesting. Again, this is just a very separate topic. It's just so interesting how gacha games have now grown. They're basically gambling, but it's sort of, I guess, sort of swerving around that barrier where, for instance, you can't go into a casino until you're like 21 in America, or you can't gamble until you're like a certain age. But gacha games don't have that limit, and yet you're doing the same thing. So,
yeah, gacha games need to be more heavily regulated.
It's so
I used to disagree with that. That was when I would say I had a gambling problem in gacha games. But now that I've realized how much of a scam gacha games are, and like gacha specifically, I realized that, this really, really does need to be more heavily regulated, because it's not okay to just have this available to everyone.
Mm-hmm. Again, especially for our younger players as well, right? And this doesn't apply to just Bang Dream as well. It definitely
Oh yeah,
applies
for sure.
to
Every
other
gacha
games
game,
as
every
well.
gacha
So
is a scam. I guarantee it.
as someone who has sort of realized that, or maybe you say, oh well, this you sort of had that realization. What would you sort of suggest to people who may have possibly have difficulties resisting that urge? What would you might suggest to them to try and resist that urge
Oh
to
god.
gacha or spend an extruded amount of money just to get their cards that they want.
I think if you can't control yourself, I think you probably, if you can't control yourself, but you want to, or you need to because you don't have the money to continue your gacha, I think you do need to get professional gambling help. Personally, I don't know what I could do to help because I kind of just realized on my own. But I know that some people have gambling problems, and like it's a thing that happens, and you might feel embarrassed that your gambling problem is a gacha game, but it's honestly just the same thing. And I think if you want to stop or you need to stop, get some help for it because it is literally gambling.
It is. It is gambling, so you really have to be careful about it. And again, as long as you're kind of smart about things and really make sure that you are doing the right thing, being a free to play player as well. Like again, there's a lot of instances where I really wanted to pull a card, but I knew that well, if I do this, I'm losing that, and this will be one less sort of putting myself a step down to my real goal, which is trying to get top 11 in an upcoming event. So
Yeah, that's another way of thinking about it that might be able to help people. Yeah, I just realized that I'd rather spend my money on tiering, or other things like a new phone or whatever. Other things outside the game. Because
I
I just don't want
unironically
to gacha anymore.
saved money to buy a new iPad just to be able to play Bang Dream better, and then spending like actual in-game currency. That's how I use my stuff. Like I was like, you know what? Like I'm not gonna spend any money in like gacha games. I'm gonna do like other things. I'm gonna buy a new iPad. I'm gonna buy a new gaming laptop. All these like extra tangibles that I know that are gonna be a lot more valuable. But obviously,
yeah, that's
again,
another thing. Obviously, you can do with your money.
yeah, I'm not your mom. To your viewers, I'm not your mom. You can do whatever you want with your money. But again, if you do feel that gacha games or gambling has been sort of taking a toll in your finances and such, definitely do what you need to do to sort of dissociate and get the support you need to make sure that you don't keep making those mistakes, especially if you are a younger age viewer for sure, or a younger age player. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I don't really have a like like a segue for that because it was a
Yeah, I don't know. How do you segue from
it's a
that
pretty
into
serious topic. But
something more lighthearted?
are there any other games that you use to kind of like, or you play to sort of bypass bypass the time, or possibly maybe resist the urge of doing like spending? Like obviously you talked about Smash, but like and other
Yeah.
games as well.
I play Hearthstone quite a bit. I've started getting really into Hearthstone recently. That hasn't helped me with my spending problem. If anything, I'm spending more now,
Oh no.
which is unfortunate. But I don't know. I currently I feel like it's worth it,
Yeah.
and obviously I can afford to spend the money, and that's the main thing. If I can't afford to spend the money, I can stop myself. So I don't think I'm addicted or anything like that. But yeah, so that's like those are those are the only real games I play, I think. Let me just check my phone. Yeah, that's it.
It's weird because I have like a really interesting philosophy. Oh, I just slipped on my chair. I have a very interesting philosophy on gacha games. Like well, obviously, like my main game is Bang Dream, and I really want to do what I can to improve my Bang Dream account. My Bang Dream account being mostly free to play for its entire 3 year lifespan. My luck has been awful. I have like
that's
barely
rough.
any 4 stars. It's so unfortunate. So it's really like urging to like it's like really tempting to try and pull for it. But to try and mitigate that, I don't think this strategy works for everyone. So don't follow this strategy if you are if you are trying to think of like ways to be free to play. But for me, I play other games and use their currencies to pull to sort of satisfy my pulling sort of urges. Like if let's say like I really wanted to pull in Bank Dream, then instead I would pull in Fire Emblem Heroes because it's relatively easy to get orbs. I don't necessarily think that I want to save for any particular character, so I just pull on that. And if I get anything good, great. I don't think it works for everyone though, because that could just be another game where, oops, you're giving more money. Oops, I'm giving money to game 2. Oops, now I'm giving all this money to game 3, which could be Genshin Impact, and they might terminate your account or something.
I think at one point I was spending money on like 3 different games, and that's when I kind of realized I had a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Heroes was where I first spent money, and once you first spend money, then it becomes easier to spend again.
Exactly.
And that's what I found. It's like my parents would always be like, "Oh, why are you spending money on a mobile game? Why would you spend money?" And I'd be the same, obviously. And then I spent money the first time on Heroes, and then it just kind of snowballed from there.
It really did. Yeah, it did. So, but yeah, it's very interesting. It's the sort of F2P versus P2W, so free to play versus pay to win philosophies. Obviously, when I get other guests over in this podcast, there's going to be very different philosophies. I know a couple of guests who are like completely free to play, so it's really fascinating. It'll be very fascinating to see what the perspectives are, and then obviously there's some Omega whales, and I'm not sure if I want to hear their story. I'm really not sure. It might be quite frightening. Like that one poll that Sprite did on Twitter, where like how much money you spent in the game.
Oh yeah, that poll.
That poll frightened me.
Yeah, that poll was scary.
When the lowest threshold was 1,000, I'm like, oh, really? Really?
Yeah, but I mean, I think that poll was fine because of their target audience.
Yeah, the target market made sense. But yeah, again, to our younger players out there, please do not spend thousands of dollars. You have much more better things to spend in life and try to grow in a career that once you become a productive member of society, then you can make your decisions of whaling and such and doing whatnot. So yeah, that's basically all like the main topics that I wanted to talk about. Again, you already talked about future events. Title Idol is sort of like your big last hurrah, which is in December, I believe, right?
Yeah, mid-December, I'm pretty sure.
Mid-December. Are there any other events are you considering to maybe, I don't know, go for top 100 or anything like that in between?
Nothing at the moment. I'm not as like active in the game as I used to be. Mm-hmm. So I don't really I haven't really set a bunch of goals for like I want top 1,000 here, top 100 there. It's kind of just like, oh, this event looks cool. Maybe I want to top 100 it. Okay, let's do it. So it's kind of just like in the moment. Now that I'm more experienced,
for sure.
I can just decide to tier 100 to like tier 100 whenever I feel like it.
For sure. I think it also depends on if there's a lot of friends in your vicinity that like all want to do it. It's a lot easier to do it when you're playing with a lot of other people.
It's a lot easier with friends, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see how things go for you. I know like one of the upcoming events is for Past the Paladins, at least, is Brighter, and I think it's September.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna top 1,000 that. I don't know.
Yeah. Again, I'm also kind of looking at my list, and I'm just like,
I don't know.
Oh man, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I want to like top 100 so many events, especially in like December. There's so many events I want to top 100. So
I'll at least be playing a lot through Brighter to help out Bells.
For sure. And of course, it's VS Live. You get cans. So
Oh, true.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Always play your VS Lives.
Always play VS Lives. VS Lives is interesting because I think a lot of pubs don't really play VS Lives because VS Lives tend to be not that competitive. I don't know if you've noticed, but like I generally get like higher ranks in general in VS Lives compared to like other lives.
Oh, I haven't really paid much attention.
I don't know.
I mean, like I said, I barely play the game anymore.
Yeah, fair.
Like when there's not an event that I'm actively cheering for, I'm barely playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
I like to at least get top 10k for each event, so I can at least have a title.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I don't really play much more than that.
That's fair. All
so
right.
Yeah,
well,
I haven't really noticed that kind of easier VS Lives.
Perhaps when I get another person on here, they'll be able to share their thoughts and maybe to have a different opinion. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. But that's basically all I want have for today in today's podcast. Any final words and shout outs, and of course you could plug your social media and stuff you want here.
Shout outs. I don't know, anyone I've ever top 10'd with, like Atsui Bells from My Ideal. From DTMD, obviously, like Sprite, Cos, Mint, and Hikari. They all helped me through DTMD, even though Mint didn't get T10 at the end. Sniped. Follow me on Twitter at Skitter __. Help me top 10 title idol.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Sprite for invite to the server.
Yeah, so I'll obviously, if you want to be able to get in touch with our guests here in this podcast, and also get an idea of what future events hold for Bang Dream and what tiering events or servers are out there, feel free to join my Discord server. And Discord server is also linked in the description, and you'll be able to check it out, join the server, meet the community here. And you'll be able to meet people and even our special guests here, be able to talk with them and ask questions of, things about tiering and such. And of course, be able to hopefully join the tiering community, join some tiering servers and get started on, getting into your competitive mojo with Bang Dream. So yeah, Skitter, thank you again. It's at Skitter __. It's on the video already. So feel free to check him out. Of course, Smash, Bang Dream, Hearthstone, all that fun stuff. You'll get to see some interesting Robin play for Smash, right?
Oh, maybe if I get on stream, which I rarely do.
So obviously you chose Robin because Twintail, right? And that's why you.
No, I chose Robin because Robin made me get Smash. Because I was a Fire Emblem fan, and then Robin was revealed for Smash 4, so I got Smash 4. That's why I'm a Robin main. I've been a Robin main ever since the reveal trailer, back whenever that was.
And the thing is, you don't use the pink hair one, so it wasn't at that phase where you were fully into pink hair characters back then. You weren't.
I still don't use the pink hair Robin because Robin is her own character, and I like to use the default female Robin because I just really like that Robin.
Mm-hmm.
Although sometimes if I'm like mega tilted, I will swap to the pink Robin, and it can help, but that's only if I'm like mega tilted mid set.
Well, that's a thing. That's a thing. You always have these like superstitions. That's something that doesn't, I think, translate in Bang Dream tiering. But but yeah. All right. Well, that concludes today's podcast, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this. It's your boy SB_Philos4, and once again, thank you very much to Skitter, our special guest, for joining episode 1.
Thanks for having me on.
Event. Yeah, you're very welcome. Hopefully episode 2 will happen in the near future. I hope to have this in a more consistent basis of this podcast. So so we'll see.
Any teasers for the episode 2 guest?
I haven't thought of. I thought of a list. I haven't communicated with people yet. I thought of a list of people who I might be interested in. Now, I don't know, because I think some podcasts may not necessarily be as long as ours.
So it might be a two-parter podcast with two different guests, or maybe it'll just be a shorter podcast. I don't know. I'm still thinking
Maybe a
about
shorter
it, but
podcast. I don't know. You
yeah.
you can think about it later.
For sure. But yeah, either way, that's the podcast. That's podcast episode number 1 of the RePHIL studio. RePHIL, hopefully, sometime in the future, on your next adventure for learning about Bang Dream and the podcast to go to listen about anything Bang Dream. So until next time, we will catch you all later. Take care, everyone.
Bye.